Something we do hear quite often is talk about series that are usually overlooked, either in the sense of anime, manga, or sometimes both. I think it's quite clear that I have a massive amount of love and appreciation for these stories because of the amount of detail and time I take to explain why I do. But not all really fit into this type of video. Some are a lot simpler that they don't require massive breakdowns. I've always wanted to do a casual recommendation series where I can talk about these series that I also really love while hopefully exposing some of you to something up your alley. As always, these videos will be spoiler free and if anything even more than my usual since I want you to be as surprised as me when I first experienced them. I'm going to be giving you the bare minimum here. Just think of these as smaller versions of the videos you've come to expect on this channel. And now that we've covered everything, let's talk about a comedy series very close to me, D-Frag. Following Kenji Kazuma, who is forced into the game creation club, the whole series is about the crazy antics the club gets themselves into. While the premise isn't anything new or deep, what I really like is that it does this interesting balancing act where it's relatively grounded but mixed with the craziness of anime. I like to describe it that the world is normal, but the people that inhabit it are, well, from a crazy anime. Anything that breaks that reality is due to the characters. The series gets occasionally meta because of this, but never to the point where the main joke is that they're breaking the fourth wall. If we look at the cast, all the members of the club are really eccentric while Kenji is the only sensible one. And eccentric is the right word here because they never get so weird they become massive caricatures. They act a little odd, but at the end of the day they're just normal people, and that's something I really enjoy about it. We're not watching ultra dumb or powerful people getting themselves into problems. They're just girls with weird affinities to elements, and Kenji is very aware of that. They're all quite different from each other in personality and appearance, giving them a nice presence whenever they're on screen. And while the anime doesn't have a hyper-stylized aesthetic, I think that works with the vibrant colors to go with the grounded world, crazy anime vibe I mentioned. There's something about it that makes it stand out to me. I haven't found another anime that gives me the same feeling as the one I get from looking at D-Frag, but that's just me. It still looks really nice. Being done by Studio Brainspace, who know how to use color prominently in their shows, it has this nice bright alive look that works with the hectic high energy material being adapted. Which is actually the main thing I want to talk about. The manga was something I was incredibly surprised by because of its stellar art and paneling. Tomoya Haruno is the mind behind D-Frag, and after picking it up I think more people should be talking about him. The amount of detail he puts into the art is something that should be praised. There are so many images that really stand out just because of how amazing they look. And I don't mean that in just an eye candy or climax type of way. Haruno-san is very versatile with his art. His attention to detail makes it that he can replicate any type of aesthetic he wants to suit whatever purpose he needs. He can easily go from rough line work and shading to being able to convey the force of an attack like it was a battle manga. A lot of images don't even look like they would be from a comedy series when you isolate them. If someone told me that he was doing a horror series next, I could totally see it. And this is where some of the best humor comes from the manga. The art is so good that it draws you into the moment to then show you what is actually going on. And aside from the great art pieces, he's able to squeeze so much expression out of the characters, even in the smallest moments due to his skill and some really good posing. And just like I said, art isn't the only thing D-Frag does really well. Its paneling is something else. Haruno-san really knows how to structure a page in a lot of different ways, but aside from knowing good placement, he also knows how to use those placements in the most effective ways. If we look at these pages, while they have a pretty standard layout, he makes up for it by having all the art inside be several different angles and close-ups to keep the high energy of the scene. But as it gets crazier, he starts breaking the structure and gets more creative with his paneling. And when you pair that with the art, it takes what is already good material and turns it into really solid, great material. And this marriage of his art and paneling shows the most in the game sequences. Because of it, they feel more like action set pieces rather than just people playing games because of how well they convey speed and force. One of my favorite examples of this is this page where he presents the amount of strengths put into a single dice throw, pulling you back with Roka's step on panel 1, keeping that anticipation with the wind up on panel 2, and then making it all explode with panel 3 being massive. He can make the buildup of pulling a stick out of a cup feel incredibly tense, and then pay it off over several pages and make it satisfying because of how much emotion and power we see in every single move the characters do, that it feels more like a battle shonen series at times. Like how we emphasizes the confidence and strengths behind Kenji flinging sticks into the air, the gravity of that single move and everyone's shocked to it in the following page, to the massive dread in realizing he has swayed the game to his favor. all climaxing with 3 pages that feel like that of a finishing blow in a battle, which is something when you remember they are just playing the king game. There are some shonen manga that don't feel nearly as intense as some of the game scenes in D-Frag. The manga feels like Tomoya Haruno's playground because of how dynamic it is and how he uses everything to keep the hectic energy present at all times. His presentation is what makes the manga really stand out, which is why it sucks that it wasn't able to be kept for the anime adaptation. He knows how to use every facet of manga to the fullest, so I get why everything didn't translate. The art style is slightly more simplified and stays more consistent compared to the constantly changing detailed art, close-ups, and angles, especially when it comes to the game sequences. The power and intensity present in them is completely gone. And I can be here all day comparing shots to page, but the one that really gets me is this one. I briefly mentioned earlier that he really likes character posing, and you can see why. He makes them feel really epic and grand, especially when it comes to the team poses. This one in the anime feels a lot more empty because of the framing and posing compared to the original. I'm fully aware that it would have been very difficult to replicate Haruno-san's skill with a pen, so I totally understand why Brainspace made it more comedy focused and definitely don't want people to think they were lazy with it. I think the anime is great, and I bring that up because I know that I'm coming off that you should read the manga rather than watch the anime with all the gushing I've been doing, and that's something I don't want people to misconstrue. I really love the anime, but for completely different reasons. I think both should be experienced because what one lacks the other makes up for. The manga is only images, so it uses that to make you laugh with how the visuals are always changing. The anime, while it doesn't come close to the look of the manga, it makes up for it in its audio, with the fun music, sound effects, and voice acting. And since I brought it up, I would implore you guys to watch the dub, because everyone in it did a great job and the script is amazing. It was one of the last few dubs done before Funimation moved to simuldubbing, so more time was spent on it making it really clever with some of the joke changes. The ones in the dub can be pretty different but still keep the core of the original. Some are even funnier than the jokes they stem from.
そして君と君の声とかなんか声優さんっぽくて可愛いからピンチだね俺がなんかあの人とかあの人っぽいわ君たちあんたなんで出てきた
You're up a creek, pal! But the girls pose a problem for me. They both sound like they could easily dub anime. Ugh. Even now I can imagine them voicing some of my favorite characters!
Real fans always go sub!
Both versions use the advantages of their medium very well, which is why I think this series is worth your time. I love the characters, writing, and presentation that it still makes me laugh even after several rewatches and rereads. If you want to start the manga, I would suggest retreading from chapter 1 just so you can see it with Haruno-san's great art, but also because a lot of little moments and entire chapters were not adapted and those are worth a read. But if you're that inclined to get to the new stuff, Volume 6 is where to start. I haven't talked about it, but the later material is really good because of all the new characters introduced, which is represented in the covers. Some of them are exactly what they look like and others are the complete opposite, but you'll have to see which one is which. D-Frag is one of my favorite comedy series and it holds a very special place in my heart, so if you guys check it out, tell me what you think about it. I would love to know that I introduced you to a new series you never knew about. If you hit the end of the video, I always appreciate that, and if you liked it, check out my last videos. And as always, bye guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.